guys, welcome back to Favorite Iron and Customs. I'm Michael. Hope everyone is having a great day. This is going to be Febudaily for February the 22nd, I think. No. Yeah, this is Sunday's video. So, I'm cleaning the shop, guys, trying to get this truck moved so we can get started on the front. So what I thought I would do, I haven't done this in a while, I'm going to show y'all how to start an anthracite fire, and we'll talk a little more once we get the truck moved. You have basically at least two different kinds of coal that I know of. One is anthracite, which is harder than the normal coal that blacksmiths use, which is bituminous, bituminous. I've heard it pronounced several different ways. And anthracite likes to have air blowing across it to keep it lit. It needs oxygen to stay lit. Bituminous coal will burn without air blowing across it. It has to have air to get hot, but it does not need air to stay lit. So how I light an anthracite fire is I've just used some paper this time. Usually I just use the, okay guys, I think maybe it lit that time. So what I use is, it's going to take it a second for the flue to start working. As soon as it gets heat, there we go. And that is just lump charcoal, like you buy at Walmart, or that may have came from Lowe's, I don't remember. But it almost looks like coal. I'm just throwing some new, and this coal is the hard anthracite coal that I use. Like I said, normal blacksmithing coal is a little softer, and you can run a hand crank or a hand bellows with it a whole lot easier. This will work you to death if you try to keep it lit with hand bellows. So like I said, I have the blower. You can hear it running in the background. Alright. Like I said, we're not firing this up today to do any work. We're firing it up to get some heat because it's cold. We have had that winter storm come through, and we didn't get a whole lot of snow. We got snow and ice last night, so there was a nice sheet of ice on the road this morning. I did make it up to Raleigh to work for a little while. I had something I needed to do up there, so I got that knocked out. And let's get the shop cleaned up and move this truck. Okay guys, it is cold. I got the truck moved. As you can tell, I'm sitting here by the toolbox. I have plenty of room in front of the toolbox. I still have to clean out over on this side and do some more cleaning up, but excuse me, I feel pretty good about the room I have up here. So before we dive into this front end, there's some things that I've been thinking about. I've always wanted to use as much of this chassis as I possibly can, and I actually want to use as much of the truck. The problem with the F1 axle beam is that the spring perch is where I was going to use to put the radius rods. I was going to build a set of radius rods and, you know, basically do like an old hot rod style setup. In the front is the same width as the axle. That way the radius rods wouldn't be, or the hot rodders would call the split wishbone, wouldn't be on the outside of the frame. And, you know, because like I said, the springs are under the frame on this, so it's just not going to work. So there's a couple of ways that we can look at doing this. One is I still intend to Z-notch the frame probably 6 inches. That's probably going to be a given. do some measurements and see, but that's probably going to be something that's going to happen. I did think about narrowing down the frame, and I may still narrow down the frame because I've got that Model A grill shell. I don't remember if I showed y'all that. It's not in the greatest of shape, but it isn't, you know, it's got some dings and dents that needs to be taken out of it, but it looks pretty good. You know, it's good enough for this old girl right here. So, we're going to use that. It's 28 inches. I think it measures like 34 between the frame rails on this. So we could narrow it down some. And I may still narrow the frame rails down. But what I do have is I have a 19, this axle beam fits from I think it's a 37 to a 41 Ford car, and I have a set of Model A wishbones. The wishbones that came with this axle are actually under the Volkswagen. And I had the Model A bones to start with. I think the axle on the Volkswagen, if I remember correct, is a 33 to 36, if I remember correctly. And that is usually the most, I think, is the most commonly sought after axle that hot rodders look for. And I'll show you why. Here, I'll show you what's up with this axle. All right. You can see that I got it laid across the frame. So if we put the wishbones, and these will have to be machined down because the Model A wishbones are a little thin to fit in there. So we can get the wishbones down the side of the truck without any kind of problem at all. Of course, they'll be attached to the frame at the other end. I've actually got the bungs already welded in these, and I got a set of tie rod in, so we could set it up like that. We would have to do something a little different with the bags. We wouldn't be able to run the bags on these wishbones. That I have no doubt in my mind. I don't think they would hold the weight of the the weight of the truck, mid bone. So, that'll give us something else to think about. But what I was saying is this is the part right here that these axles aren't really sought after, is because the area between where the wishbone mounts and the kingpin goes is only about 6 inches. So if you were going to do a 2-inch drop axle, by the time you turn that up and brought it back out to where it's supposed to be to get the kingpin angle right and drop 2 inches, you don't have enough meat there. I want to say the 33 to 36, I believe, is the year. The one that's in the Volkswagen out there is the one that everybody's cut and turn, or not cut and turn, but eating and turning to get the drop axles, that classic hot rod look. But I'm really liking the idea of doing this. So the one hang up, and I just got on the HA&B just a few minutes ago. Of course, I love the old boards and stuff, but man, geez, dude, you got people that comment and they have no idea what they're talking about, and then it's like you'll spend 30 minutes reading a thread. Half the people are saying search for an answer, and the other half don't even know what they're talking about, and you don't know which half don't know what they're talking about. So, like I said, beyond all that, the hang up is the F1 spindles gonna fit the 41 axle beam, or 37 to 41 axle beam? I think it probably will. I'm going to go do some more research tonight. Somebody said the kingpin axis inclination, or the kingpin inclination, which is I knew that was going to happen. Okay, so So somebody was saying the kingpin inclination, which is if you look at the end of this wishbone on both sides, or not wishbone, this axle beam on both sides, and even if you look down on the straight axle on the truck, you can see that the kingpin does not run straight up and down. It comes in at an angle. And that is part of your steering axis, your kingpin axis inclination. That is one of your steering angles that no one ever talks about, because cars nowadays are built so much different than they were when this axle was new and running up and down the road. But, you know, obviously if your kingpin is at the wrong angle, then your camber, not caster, your camber is going to be way off. And we'll have to set the caster on this, and the way we'll set the caster on this is we'll figure out what ride height is, and then we will set the level of the bones. And if it's not where we want it, we'll just cut the bones and move them. I mean, you know, that's what you got to do. That's when you're doing stuff like this, this is what you got to do. You got to cut stuff and reshape it, you know, because you're doing things that weren't meant to be done. Not by the factory anyway. But guys, sorry, this is not really it. It's stuff that had to be done. I have literally been out here for probably 2 hours and cleaned the shop. I put up a bunch of tools. There's a lot left to do, but I did get the truck moved. I did get the back end back up, jacked on up in the air on jack stands. I'll get the front end on jack stands tomorrow. We'll pull this front axle out and we'll make a decision one way or the other about what we're about to do. But I have a feeling if I can find out that those spindles are going to fit on that axle, we're putting that axle in that truck. So anyway, we'll save the F1 axle for something later. See y'all later. Y'all have a good weekend. Like I said, I think this was Sunday's video. Y'all have a good rest of the day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.